Dark Winds, a recap and review of Episode 1 of Season 4. Baptism in Fire. Dark Winds Season 4 opens with us at a remote diner in Episode 1. A Navajo man named Albert and his girlfriend, Billie, are there when a woman with a gun arrives and targets them right away. They're running, and Albert seems to be in a desperate search for a companion. Eventually, after a gunfight, Albert and Billie dash off down the road together. Regardless of the situation they are in, it takes them directly to our main characters. Unaware of the significance of the news, Chee informs the force about Billie's disappearance later in the episode. After that, we go back 15 hours and follow Joe as he leaves for the countryside. Joe is on his own now that Emma has left him after the BJ Vines scandal last season. He has plenty of time to reflect and is attempting to determine his life's purpose. Joe ponders the course of his life while hunting, cleaning, and generally staying occupied. While on the road, Joe assists Gordo in changing his tire, effectively expressing his thoughts about Emma and life. Stuff are difficult for Gordo as well because his wife has dementia and is losing a lot of stuff. Additionally, it serves to emphasize how limited our lives truly are, and it appears to give Joe some pressure to pursue his goals. Although Bernadette and Chee are getting along well, Bernadette is taken aback when Joe visits her when Chee is away. He has made the decision to officially retire this time. Since the documentation has already been filed, Captain Largo is aware. He's off to Los Angeles and is resolved to start again since he thinks it would help him and Emma get back on track. Joe believes the county needs new blood and new ways of doing things, therefore he also wants to hand the reins on to Bern. The problem is that Bern and Jim's relationship might be ruined by this. They're still working out how to combine their romantic relationship with their professional relationship. Bern is worried about the potential for rivalry or even working on the same case with different viewpoints. Jim says they can simply ask Joe and dismisses it. Bern is aware that this won't last for very long, but even though he doesn't aware that Joe is currently retired, Jim reassures Bern that he has her back. When Joe's mother learns later that her son is retiring, she is a little more considerate and advice-giving, telling Joe that he should retire for himself and not for Emma. She'll back it if that's what he wants. Jim and Joe decide to look into this runaway scenario more thoroughly, so they set off on the road together. Regina, the sister in charge, worries that this is more severe than it first appears when they arrive at St. Catherine's. Jim is urged to speak with Billie's closest friends in an effort to comprehend what transpired. Billie now resides north of Sheep Springs with her grandfather. Since the walk takes 4 or 5 days on foot, it is improbable that she made the journey, otherwise, she would have been hurt or lost. The reason the girls are reluctant to get into trouble is because they are obviously hiding something, and Joe is aware that Sister Regina is also observing. Joe gives them his card and asks them to call him if they have any ideas. More helpful is Roger, the shopkeeper, who explains that Billie was riding with Albert, a Navajo child. This might be their destination, as the vehicle had a California license plate. That former assassin is back in disguise and overhears everything while Joe and Jim are searching for information. Jim and Joe visit Billie's granddad on his property. They find out that Albert is a criminal after questioning Mr. Begay about Billie's fugitive acquaintance. Mr. Begay is aware that if Albert is involved, it's not good news, even though Billie's parents are no longer living. Meanwhile, from a distance, this assassin observes and takes pictures of them. To thunderous cheers, Bern dons her uniform once more in the morning and makes her way back to the station. Chee does the same old "nice to see you again" shtick, but no one is buying their clumsy performance. They are all aware of the relationship between them. Bern wants to get in right away, so he urges Joe to go ask the females questions. Bern returns and talks to Jane, one of the girls, because she has experience with St. Catherine's. The terrible reality of life behind those walls, coupled with her personal experiences here, is enough to make Jane relax. In Confidentially, Billie told her, she recalls, that she would stop at a diner if she was going to flee. They are presently at Red House, which is the nearest. Bern tells Joe and Chee about it, and they immediately rush out to meet them. By the time they get there, the place is dark and eerily lighted. There are no lights, and the front shutter smashes back and forth. There appears to have been a fight because the jukebox is skipping, there is a single gunshot hole in the glass, and expended rounds are all over the floor. It's too late. After the shooting at the beginning of the episode, the gang shows up, bringing us back to where we started. There are bodies behind the counter, and the diner is entirely destroyed. There is no sign of the assassin or our escapees. The pace of business is going to increase. There are slow burns, and then there is Dark Wind Season 4's beginning, which appears to have been inspired by Pluribus in terms of the skill of taking its sweet time to get to the good stuff. Despite the jokes, this start is effective, with the first half of the novel gradually introducing itself as our characters become used to their new circumstances. Since Byrne and Jim Chee get along well, the prospect of Byrne taking over the station might be exactly the right amount of pressure to put their mutual devotion and trust to the test. Joe's choice to retire will now be closely watched, particularly as it would take him into the center of Los Angeles and maybe back to Emma. The case itself is fairly good, and it appears that we are veering much more toward typical crime drama area rather than the supernatural aspects we saw in Season 3. In all honesty, this is a wise strategy, and we still don't know enough about this assassin to know why she is targeting Billie and Albert. This chapter serves more as an appetizer before we delve into the main course, even though the season is off to a slow start. The episode begins with a tense, violent scenario at a remote cafe, where a woman with a gun targets someone involved in the investigation. Leaphorn, who is also dealing with sadness and loss in his own life, the symbolic images of an empty closet and lingering pictures of Emma's absence are poignant, considers retiring but is drawn back in. The hunt for the missing girl degenerates into more serious dangers, such as a murderer hunting for a case-related target. A new change of pace with noir undertones is promised by the story's intimation of extension beyond the Navajo Nation into Los Angeles in the 1970s. Intenseness is added by newcomers like Franca Potenti, who plays a strong antagonist, and the premiere honors the late executive producer Robert Redford. Overall feeling and review. This premiere is a powerful, atmospheric comeback that keeps the show's distinctive fusion of character-driven drama, immersive cinematography, cultural authenticity, and neo-Western tension. In keeping with the series' impeccable critical record, critics laud it as part of a season that is already receiving a perfect 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, across early reviews for the entire season. Everything is anchored by Zahn McClarnon's stoic, strong portrayal of Leaphorn, who is grieving, reflecting, and returning to his ancient ways, all of which offer emotional depth. The suspense is developed skillfully without hurrying, the prose is incisive, and the images are breathtaking, particularly the landscapes and historical details. The move toward LA intrigue is invigorating, the villain is terrifying, and personal arcs, such as Manolito's possible return to the Force and Chee's emotional stakes, raise the stakes. These reactions from fans and critics emphasize the show's relief at evolving rather than repeating itself. Some observe that while the main mystery is strong at first, it really comes through in the character development and subsidiary stories. It is compelling, respectful of Navajo culture and faith, and demonstrates why Dark Winds is unique in the crowded crime/thriller genre. That if you enjoy slow-moving procedurals with heart, history, and intense suspense, imagine Wind River meets True Detective with indigenous-led storytelling, this episode is perfect for setting up what seems to be the best season of the show to date. Jim and Joe visit Billie's granddad on his property. They find out that Albert is a criminal after questioning Mr. Begay about Billie's fugitive acquaintance. Despite the fact that Billie's parents are no longer living, Mr. Begay is aware that anything involving Albert is bad. Meanwhile, this assassin observes and takes pictures of them from a distance. Byrne returns to the station to thunderous acclaim in the morning after putting on her outfit once more. No one here is buying into Jim Chee's clumsy acting as they pull off the old, "nice to see you again" joke. They are all aware of their relationship. Byrne tells Joe she should go ask the girls questions because he wants to get in on the activity right away. Because Byrne has been at St. Catherine's before, she goes back and talks to Jane, one of the girls. Jane is able to relax because of her personal experiences here and how tough life was inside those walls. She reveals that Billie assured her in private that she would make a stop at a diner if she was going to flee. They are currently in Red House, which is the nearest. Byrne quickly tells Joe and Jim Chee about this, and they rush out to meet them. By the time they get there, it is dark, and the place is darkly illuminated. There are no lights, and the front shutter smashes back and forth. There appears to have been a fight because the jukebox is skipping, there is a single gunshot hole in the glass, and expended rounds are scattered all over the floor. The time has passed. Following the shooting at the beginning of the episode, the gang shows up, bringing us full circle. With bodies behind the counter, the diner is in utter ruin. We have not found the assassin or our escapees. The business will soon pick up. As our characters get used to their new circumstances, the first half of the novel develops gradually, so jokes aside, this introduction works fairly well. Given that Byrne and Jim Chee get along well, the prospect of Byrne taking over the station might be the perfect amount of pressure to put their mutual devotion and trust to the test. Given that it will take him into the center of Los Angeles and possibly back to Emma, Joe's decision to retire is now going to be closely watched. Although the case itself is quite intriguing, it appears that we are moving much more toward typical crime drama territory in place of the supernatural components we saw in Season 3. We still don't know enough about this assassin or the precise reason behind her pursuit of Billie and Albert, but this is a really wise move all around.